Hello friends, welcome back to a new video where we will see about today's new chapter, that is our parliament, and this is the episode 1 of our parliament, and there will be more parts of this series. So let's begin. First we will start with a quote that is given by Jawaharlal Nehru. So he is trying to say that we choose this system of parliamentary democracy deliberately. We choose it not only because, to some extent, we had always thought of those lines previously, but because we thought it was keeping with our own old traditions also. Naturally, the old traditions not as they were, but adjusted to the new condition and new surroundings, we choose it also. Let's give credit whether the credit is due because we approved of its functioning in other countries, more especially in the United Kingdom. So what he is trying to say, that Jawaharlal Nehru is saying that India chose the parliamentary democracy system on a purpose. So India is choosing its parliamentary democracy system on a purpose. They chose it not because it was something that had considered before, but also because it matched India's old traditions. So this system was also matching with our old traditions. Though these traditions were adapted to fit new times and situations. He also gives credit to other countries for this parliamentary system, like United Kingdom also, because India saw that the system worked well there also. So India gives credit to those countries because these functions, this parliamentary system, this body was also performing in other countries so far as good. Now let's move to another topic, that is representative bodies in ancient India. So I will first read this sentence, then I will explain it word by word. So India's idea of representative governance dates back to the Vedic age, 3000 to 1000 BC. Ancient assemblies called Sabha and Samiti functioned as yearly form of representative bodies. Samiti acted as a general assembly representing the border population. Sabha was selected council of elders similar to a modern upper house in legislatures. India's adoption of parliamentary democracy on January 26, 1950 was influenced by its historical traditions and global examples like United Kingdom. Jawaharlal Nehru noted that the parliamentary system was chosen because it's aligned with the India's past and suited contemporary needs. India's democratic journey combines ancient wisdom of deliberation with modern governance. So, what is this text trying to say? That long before India became a fully fledged parliamentary democracy, with the adoption of its republican constitution on January 26, 1950, the idea of representative governance was not foreign to the land. India's democratic roots run deep, stretching as far back as the Vedic age, around 3000 to 1000 BC. In those ancient times, assemblies known as Sabha and Samiti, where in this text also have said that ancient assembly, also called as Sabha and Samiti, function as the earlier form of representative bodies. So the ancient time assemblies known as Sabha and Samiti function as the earlier form of representative bodies. The Samiti was like the general assembly representing the border populace, while the Sabha was a select council of elders, a smaller gathering akin to the modern upper house in legislatures. When India chose its current parliamentary democracy, it was conscious decision informed by both its own rich tradition and the example set by other countries, especially the United Kingdom. Jawaharlal Nehru, one of the India's founding leader, highlighted that this system was embraced not only because it's resonated with the India's past, but because it proved its effective elsewhere and suited new realities. Thus, India's journey towards a democratic system is a story of blending old wisdom with the modern governance, building on centuries old practices of the deliberation and representation. Now we will see the beginning of the modern parliament institutions. Right. So, what is trying to say? I will first explain that, then I will move to the meaning. Early societies were ruled by kings or elders, but growing complexity called for border representation. Medieval Europe, especially England, saw the first gatherings of representatives from towns and nobles. These yearly assemblies discussed the important issues like laws and taxes over time. These meetings become formal and regular, evolving into modern parliaments. Modern parliaments allowed elected members to debate, make laws, and hold the government accountable. The successful modern model in the United Kingdom inspired many other countries, including India, to adopt parliamentary system. So what it's trying to say that long ago, people live in small communities where decisions were made by the elders or kings. But over time, as society grew larger and more complex, people realized that the just one ruler couldn't fairly represent everyone's interest. This led to the idea of creating groups or assemblies where many voices could be heard. The modern parliament began to take shape in medieval Europe, especially in England. King invited representatives from towns and nobles to come together to discuss the important matters like laws and taxes. This yearly gathering of different groups was the first step, allowing people to have a say in how they were governed. Gradually, these meetings become more formal and regular, evolving into institutions where elected members debated, made laws, kept kings or governments accountable. The success of this system in countries like the United Kingdom inspired others around the world, including the India, to adopt similar parliamentary systems suited to their own traditions and needs. And thus the age of the modern parliament began a new way of governing that brought the power of decision making closer to the people. So this is the reason how the decision making power, how the modern parliamentary institution begins. Now we will see the silent features of the modern parliament. First I will read it, then I will explain it, each of them in a story way, right? So that you can understand easily. So here are the key features of the functioning of modern parliament: representative, deliberative, rules and procedures, accountability, transparency, and inclusiveness. So first is representative. Elected members represent the people and their communities. Deliberative means members discuss and debate thoroughly before making decisions. Rules and procedures means meeting follow organized rules to ensure fairness and order. Accountability means Parliament holds the government responsible for its action. Transparency means action and decisions are open for public security. Inclusiveness means different regions, communities, and opinions are represented. So, what it tries to say that long ago people live in what small communities. Imagine a grand hall where people from all walks of life come together to decide the future of their country. This hall is the modern parliament. It works as the heart of the democracy. So the modern parliament is the heart of the democracy. This hall of the modern parliament is the heart of democracy, where the elected representatives meet to discuss the debate and make laws. First, the parliament is representative. The people choose their leaders through elections, so everyone has a voice through their representatives. So they elect their people who they want to express those voice, right? To solve their problem, to express their problems in front of the government. So they elect their representatives, right? Then it's like a big team where each member speaks for their community. Next, the parliament operates through the deliberation. Representatives do not just make decisions quickly, they discuss their different opinions, listen carefully, and debate ideas before settling on what would be best for everyone. The parliament also follows the rules and regulations, right? The parliament also follows the rules and regulations, procedures to keep things fair and organized. Just like a game has rules, think of a game that has rules, meeting have structured the way to represent views, asks a question and votes on ideas, ensuring everyone gets a chance to participate. An important feature is accountability. Members in parliament must explain, justify their work to the people. They keep the government in check, making sure it follows the laws and the works for the public good. The parliament functions through the transparency too. Its actions are open and visible to the public, so citizens can see what's happening and hold their leaders responsible. Finally, the parliament safeguards diversity and inclusiveness. It represents the different reasons, communities, and opinions, so no group is left out from the decision making process. Through these features of the parliament become more than just a place, it becomes a symbol of fair, balanced, and democratic way to govern a nation. Right? So these are the silent features of our modern parliament. Now we will see the Charter Act 1833. Right? So first I will read it, then I will explain it. It ended the East India Company's commercial activities, making it only the governing authority in India. The Governor General of Bengal was made the Governor General of all India with expanded powers. The Act centralized and strengthened the British control over India. It allows Indians to participate in the civil administration for the first time. The Act marked the shift from the company's trading role to direct government administrations. So what it tries to say that once upon a time during the British rule in India, the British government wanted to recognize how it controlled the vast territories of India. To do this, they passed a special law called Charter Act 1833. This act was important because it changed the East India Company's role. The company had ruled India over many years, but the act ended its commercial activities, making it purely an administrative body focused on the governing of the India rather than trading. Right? The act was also centralized the administration by making the Governor General of Bengal the Governor General of all India with greater powers. This meant the British government had stronger control and more uniform policies across the country. Another important feature of this act was that it opened opportunities for Indians to serve in the civil administration. So the civil service exam UPSC was announced after the implementation of Charter Act 1833. Right? Then in short, the Charter Act of 1833 marked a major step forward, reconstructing the British India's governance, moving from a commercial enterprise to a government focused on direct rule and administration. So this is all about the Charter Act 1833. Now we will look after Charter Act 1853. So It means basically, first I will read it. Open the process of nominating members to the Governor General's Council, allowing some yearly form of representation. Separated the function of executive and legislative councils for clearer governance roles. Introduce competitive exams for civil service, allowing merit based entry, including for Indians. Marked an effort to make British administrations in India more organized, transparent, and meritocratic. Laid the foundation for future reforms toward greater India participation in governance. So, the Charter Act 1853 is basically trying to say that in mid 19th century, the British government wanted to reform the way India was governed to make it more efficient and open to qualified individuals. So, in 1853, they passed an Charter Act which introduced some of important changes. This act marked the first time that process of selecting members the Governor General's Council was opened up through a form of nomination, hinting and yearly ideas of representation. It separated the power of executive and legislative councils, which meant clearer roles and responsibilities for governing India. Significantly, the act made the process for appointing civil servants from merit based by introducing competitive exam held in the England. So here Indians also can participate in the civil service exams. This opened the doors for talented Indians who could now join the civil service based on their ability rather than the connections. The Charter Act 1853 set a precedent for introducing reforms and making the governance of India more structured, transparent, and inclusive, laying the groundwork for future democratic development. So this is all about Charter Act 1853. Now we will look about Indian Council Act 1861. So first I will read it, then I will explain it. Post 1857 revolt context. After the India's revolt 1857 shook British authority, British Parliament enacted the India's Council Act 1861 on August 1 to restore confidence and strengthen the control under Governor General Lord Canning. Executive Council reforms. The Governor General's Executive Council become a mini cabinet with the member given specific portfolios like home, revenue, military, finance and law, resembling modern departmental heads. Provisional legislative councils. Legislative councils were revived in provisions like Bombay, Madras, decentralizing the power from the centralized system in 1833 Act. India's inclusion milestone. For the first time, non-official Indias were nominated to be legislative councils. In 1862, 3 Indians joined the Governor General Council. British safeguards. The Governor General retained veto power, could issue emergency ordinance and restricted debates on sensitive topics like finance, long-term impact. Though limited, it introduced cautious representation, setting the stage for lateral reforms in 1892 and 1909. So what it basically trying to say that in the turbulent aftermath of 1857 revolt, which shook Britishers' rule in India to its core, the colonial power faced a crisis of confidence. The British Parliament, seeking to rebuild the trust and tighten control, passed the Indian Council Act on August 1, 1861, led by Lord Canning, the Governor General. This act transformed the Governor General's Executive Council into a mini cabinet with members assigned specific portfolios. like home, revenue, military, finance, and law, much like modern departmental heads. It also revived the legislative councils in provinces such as Bombay and Madras, decentralizing some power from the over centralized system of earlier act like 1833. For the legislative process of non-official nominees, a symbolic note to inclusion in 1862, Canning appointed 3 Indians to the Governor General's counseling, yet British supremacy remained absolute. The Governor General could veto decisions, enact ordinance in emergence, and exclude the topics like finance from the debate. Though limited, this act marked a turning point, blending control with cautious representation and paving the way for future reforms like 1892 and 1909 acts. So this is all about Indian Council Act 1861. Now in next part we will see the formation of Indian National Congress and much more thing. So stay tuned for the next video. Like, share and subscribe. That's all for today. Thank you. Have a nice day. Jai Hind. Jai Bharat.